I thought I would just show you what a French double socket looks like. Got a pin in the middle for an earth and two holes either side. Now, one of them is live, one of them is neutral, or phase and neutral. Technically, it doesn't matter which is which, sort of. But if it's done right, we'll do it the same way. To take this apart, we start by a little Phillips screw in the middle. This piece comes out, then a little flat-bladed screwdriver to pop that apart. But before we do that, we make sure that we don't lose this bit of paper, which shows us how it all wires together. It tells me it's suitable for 16 amps up to 250 volts. Yeah. Also, it says on here, it's a double plug hole, please. Now, something that I find confusing is the plug hole and the plug. Everyone calls them both a prise. And it says that it's pre-cabled. Let's pop it apart and see if if it is. Well, that's all fairly simple. Standard sort of horrible plasticky sort of thing with little clips, so you have to sort of jiggle a screwdriver down it to get them to pop out. When we move on to this bit, that's the sort of works of the thing. These will actually, you can pop these off, although why you would want to. Actually, I do know why you want to. You want to because, as with all sorts of things like this, you need to work out where the cable run is going to pop out of the case. You know, the inside of the case has got relieved bits, and you can pop out little bits from the back of the case. So you might want to pop those off. Wiring these is ever so easy. With your bit of wire and, you know, the idiot-proof instructions, I say idiot-proof, yeah, depends how good an idiot you are. You know, you take 11 millimetres of insulation off the wire, and then you stuff it in the hole. Yeah, and that's it. No messing about with tiny little screws. It's actually, obviously no one with half a brain works on a live circuit, but if you think about it, it's a lot safer this way. You know, you've not got the temptation of sticking a screwdriver onto a screw to tighten anything up. So yeah, yeah, don't recommend working on live circuits, but it's always going to be a little bit safer than ones where you've got a screwdriver stuffed in things. So there we are. That's a French plug hole. If any of you are contemplating journeys to France, you might need an adapter for all of your American or British or whatever electrical equipment you bring with you. Well, the other day I muttered things about making sense out of the wood pile, and I can see that I've made a moderate impact we're getting down. I can actually see the ground beneath some of it. One of the things I did promise, though, was if I found a nice piece of wood, I would not burn it. I would put it to use. And of course I've got in the back of my head all sorts of projecty sort of things that I want to do. And I fished this out. It's a piece of oak. And it's the right size for a job that I want to do. So I thought we'd have a look at it. It's horrible, isn't it? Interestingly, I know George will appreciate this. There's the carpenter's marks where he marked out the mortise, and you know, he's cut that out. Looking at it, I guess he put an auger bit through, squared it up with a chisel, and drilled it, and you know, put a, well, I've heard them called tree nails, I've heard them called trennels. If you've got a particular choice of whether it's a tree nail or a trennel, yeah, and that would have held the tenon of another piece of timber. But what I'm going to do after dinner tonight, when I'm not going to be doing anything hugely physical, I'm going to give this a bit of a clean and see if we can't make it look a bit more respectable than it does at the moment. The job that I have in mind for it calls for a piece of character wood, and this has certainly got character. I'm not going to tell you what the job is. You're going to have to wait several weeks to see that. That's the old leave 'em wanting something more. But yeah, interesting piece of oak. Yeah, I need 90 centimetres at the moment. That's a little bit more than 90, but that's good. I've cut the end off. Look at that. Wormholes everywhere. Not a great problem for what I'm doing with this wood. It's going to be, it's going to do a job that a very small piece of softwood would have done, so its structural strength isn't an issue. It will be perfectly fine for the job that I want it to do, especially once I've treated it, just to make sure that none of the worms are still alive. But yeah, it has a certain amount of character in it. You know, we've got a knot, and when this cleans up and stains and varnishes and all that sort of thing, I think that will be relatively pretty, and we'll leave these features in it. Well, this might give you some clues as to why I want this particular piece of oak. Yeah, you got to use your imagination a little bit and sort of squint a bit and think, how would that look in the corner of a room with a frame round it and perhaps some shelves? Yeah, it's a long way down the list of priorities, but now this is quite an interesting, I don't know, it's not really a window, is it? It's a cupboard or something, It's got this rather interesting old mechanism for closing it. It's got one piece of broken glass. Well, that's not really an issue for me, is it? I'll stick another bit of glass in there with no great problem. Yeah, I've got an image of what I'm going to do with this. I know where it's going. For now, it's going back out of my way.